Trey. Somebody had to get it.
Oh, that was the greatest line back I've ever heard.
Somebody had to get that ball championship.
Spadoni, that was hilarious.
I know. Spadoni, did you celebrate that like a normal championship?
Well, it was weird, right? Like that whole, because it was pandemic still, like we were all at home. I was like, Benny was with me, Jay, but like you couldn't celebrate it, which kind of sucked. Like you were social. Everyone was just kind of like, good for the Lakers, I guess. It's probably been a sad year. It was just a very odd championship. I'll put it that way.
Let's go to E in Redwood City. E, what's happening? You're on the roast.
All right, like my boy Vontae says, oh, baby. Hey, man, listen, I would ask you if you can hear me, but I know you can smell me because that King's pack is burning, boy. Listen, like Denzel said, they got Sabonis playing in Pelican Bay, locked up, cuffed up, my boy. Check it. We're going to smack these dudes up. Next game, it's over. I'll catch y'all in Thrive City. You already know, Vontae, what we going to be putting down.
Oh, yeah.
King's pack.
Oh, yeah.
Look, I'm going to make it short and sweet, man. Look, the meat riding coming from L.A. Lakers fans is outrageous, bro. I hope they beat the Kings. The Grizzlies so we can smack them up, too. Dubs and 6 all day, baby. Ease out.
The meat riding.
And that was a great call.
Not too many people get what he said there.
And then he was talking about, locking somebody up in Pelican Bay.
Right.
So Sabonis is behind the wall.
He is behind the wall. Behind the wall, corrupt.
Such a sick song.
It was a sick song. Locked up behind the wall.
I think that was not The Wire. It was, come on, what's the name of that show on HBO?
Oh, Oz.
Yes.
Oz, yeah.
Behind the
wall, yeah. Oz. That was an underrated show. That was wild.
Such a sick show.
That was wild.
Such a sick show.
I don't know if it aged well.
I love prison shows. I actually like the real
prison
ones.
movies, too.
I love them. Love them all.
You ever see that prison movie with Master P?
Which
and
one?
Actually, Stacey Snowfall's in this movie.
No.
Oh, my God. It's so low budget. It's underrated,
What's it called?
I forget
I love all the low budget ones.
Yeah,
like, Beware of those.
Master P, Stacy from Snowfall's in it.
Okay.
Oh, man, it's a wild movie. It's a wild movie. I got to look that up. Oh, we got Slater? Oh, we got Slates. Anthony Slater, our 95.7 The Game Insider.
Do you enjoy prison movies?
Yeah. Do you enjoy prison movies, Slater? I know it's weird way to start this interview.
You're an American Me guy.
Some of them. Longest Yard, Shawshank Redemption. Well, I mean, I don't know what sounds like you guys have been bouncing.
No, we're just talking about Sabonis being locked up.
Yeah, so our boy Ian Redwood said he's locked up in Pelican Bay. I think he's locked up in Alcatraz because a lot of Kings media members thought that, but not a lot of them.
Every single Sacramento media person was out here touting Sabonis as he's going to dominate the series. Let's just call it what it is.
Joe Shasky, I'm a media member from Sacramento. That's where I live. Looney was underrated coming into the series. You're correct.
No doubt.
But, I mean, I can understand Sabonis' struggles. The scheme is tailored to stop him, and you have two of the top. What would you consider Looney just defensive big in the league? Top 10?
I would say so.
Probably.
A lot of people wouldn't say that.
Yeah, I don't know.
They would kind of scoff at Looney.
I don't know.
I mean, a lot of people don't watch other teams. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they don't watch the Warriors closely.
I'm just talking defense.
Yeah, I feel like guys like Horford get the benefit of the doubt, even though he's so old. You know what I mean? Like in terms of like the casual perception. I'm not sure of that answer, quite honestly. But he is clearly underrated.
Yeah, well, I just mean like Sabonis is facing a scheme that's tailored to stop his pet actions, and it's being executed by two of the top 10 bigs in the league, and Draymond playoff-wise, the top big in the league.
Yeah.
So it's just it's a tough matchup for him.
It is a tough matchup, and they've completely taken him out of the series. So Looney with this 22 rebounds. He had 22 last year in Game 6 against the Memphis Grizzlies to clinch that series. But the story, I think, is Draymond Green scoring the 21 points, the most he scored in the game since Christmas Day against the Rockets in that lost year in 2019 when the Warriors won 15 games. Draymond Green, however the decision came to be made to come off the bench. It was the right move, obviously, to go to the one big lineup to start, and in crunch time, you go to the two bigs down the stretch to play a little defense. But Draymond Green being aggressive offensively, it just opens up everything, and he turned back the clock there, and I think he made himself even more money this offseason, Slater.
We'll see how the season ends, but that's possible. It's funny, I wrote about that Draymond scoring last night, which made me go back and look, and like 14 per game in the 2016 season. He was third on the team in points, ahead of Harrison Barnes.
Did he shoot?
Barnes averaged 11 that season.
Did he shoot 37% from three that season as well?
38.
38%.
Three that season, hit 100 threes, and the most famous loss they've ever had, Game 7 against the Cavs, which obviously we will remember that series for him missing Game 5 for the suspension. 32 points in Game 7, 7 threes in that Game 7. The Warriors only scored 89. Remember, that was like a wrestling match against the Cavaliers. He had 32 of their 89. That's like inconceivable to even think about. But we saw it last night. If you want to get into like the scheme, we're talking about Sabonis' scheme against him, bottling him up. I think it's the opposite with Draymond. Like the Kings were just daring him to score, and I think finally in the mid part of the series he realized like this isn't Memphis, right? When Memphis dared him to score, it was like, well, Jaren Jackson's still coming over, Steven Adams is coming over to block the shot. Nobody's coming over for the Kings. They don't block shots. They don't protect the rim. It was a layup line, in the first half for him.
Yeah, I mean, he was so good. And then I thought Klay Thompson exploded. I mean, he hit some huge shots, specifically in that second quarter, because we were talking about, how the game might play out, and everybody has their preview, and I kept thinking, man, they got to weather the storm in that first half, because that crowd's going to be really fired up, and then what's it going to feel like if the Warriors can salvage and find a way to stay close or take the lead? And boom, that happened in the second quarter. And I wasn't in the arena, but just through the television, it sure felt real quiet after a couple of those Klay Thompson shots.
Yeah, I'd say that was the worst of the three crowds in Sacramento, just regardless of how it went. I think some of the energy has died a little bit. I mean, it's still a great playoff crowd. Of course. 1, 2. You mentioned Klay. This has been like a steadier than usual Klay Thompson playoff series, right? Usually he has the 4 quiet games, 1 explosive 40-point night where he hits a bunch of threes. I think he's been like pretty good consistently. I don't think he's hit 30, but last night was probably his best game, at least most important made shots over the course of the game. I thought he stabilized them in the first half, as you mentioned, and then that we could point to about 6 shots down the stretch as perhaps the biggest shots of the game, but his was that deep fadeaway.
That was unreal.
Long 2, I guess they called it, but that was a degree of difficulty was I guess you could say Draymond Green's degree of difficulty on a fadeaway is high up there, but that was a crazy shot
from 6 feet out for Draymond,
Unbelievable.
compared to it felt like a 40-footer falling away into the first row as his momentum is taking him to the side. That was Klay Thompson was incredible.
He was incredible. Anthony Slater here on 95.7 The Game, our 95.7 The Game insider, of course, on the morning roast. Slates, you bring up Klay. What was the most pivotal point of that basketball game? Aside from the last 5 minutes when Sacramento closed with that 13-2 run to make it 107-106, was it the end of the third quarter where the Warriors take a 9-point lead going into the fourth? Was it the second quarter, the non-Steph Curry minutes when they go on a 12-0 run and Klay hits 3 straight threes? What was the most important stretch outside of the last 6 minutes to you?
I would say, how about when Gary Payton II entered in the second quarter? Fox what was he up to? Like 15 points?
Yeah.
And it was like, uh-oh, the way he's going. And they hadn't gone to Payton. He missed game 3 with the food poisoning. He was like, 7 minutes in game 4. And Kerr wasn't really using him. I'm not sure if everything was going well for the Warriors. I'm not sure he's in the rotation yesterday. Fox gets going. He puts him in. I thought Gary made a bunch of big, simple plays, right? A little strip on Sabonis turns into a Wiggins 3. An over-the-top offensive rebound kick out. It's a Klay 3. So that's maybe one of the more underrated sequences of the game, some of the stuff he did. And then, like you mentioned it, late third. There was also a moment, Fox had a poke away steal and then really started, grabbing his hand like it was hurting.
Right.
He didn't seem the same after that. I don't know. I don't know how much of an effect that was, but he scored 0 fourth quarter points.
Well,
he's owned the fourth
Anthony,
quarter.
I thought you could see it, not in the shot, but in the handle. The handle felt as loose as it's been all series. For me, and I'm sure that affected his shot. I'm not saying it didn't, but his ability to get to his spots is part of what makes him so great. And I thought that the handle was slightly loose.
Yeah. I mean, it was not only hurting, but it's he doesn't have feeling in that tip of his left index finger. That has to affect him.
Yeah.
It's also game 1. Maybe if their playoffs continued, which is looking more skeptical by the day on that, but maybe 2 weeks from now when he's used to playing with this little pad and splint, it would be better. But that was game one. I did think it affected him before.
Yeah. So, when we talk about minute allocation, rotations, having Draymond come off the bench, sticking with that, I felt like we've done such a job of criticizing Steve Kerr at every turn this and rightfully at times and sometimes unfairly. But when you have a game like he did last night, I thought he was brilliant in terms of sense of urgency, calling the timeout at the end of the third quarter, kind of regrouping, galvanizing the situation, not playing Kuminga, playing, DiVincenzo only when he really needed to, it felt like, down the stretch, managing the Klay Thompson 5-foul situation. I don't know. I thought Steve Kerr really coached his ass off yesterday.
Hey, you even gave Steph, 41, 42 minutes?
Yep.
Like, that's
back-to-back games.
To do that.
Yeah, back-to-back games.
But,
Steph's play heavy minutes.
We talk so much about this core and what they've proven over, this dynasty run, what they are, what their DNA is in these playoff moments. Group Steve Kerr into that. What is he about to be if they finish this off 19-0 in the West playoff series?
Yeah, never lost.
That's incredible.
Always seen. And Draymond Green brings this up at times, but has trust in this coaching staff to solve a series. By the middle of the series, figure out exactly what's needed, what works, go into that game plan, sticking to it. And I thought Steve Kerr's playoff run last year was maybe his best, just the way he navigated those series. This potentially can be the first example of that if this run keeps going, because I do think he did not have a very good early part of this series,
right?
But I think they've gotten to what makes them comfortable. I think in a lot of ways that they figured out this series. He even had a quote post game. He's like, "Look, we know if we rebound, if we take care of the ball, we've kind of solved the equation."
Right. No, and they have. They solved Sabonis. They solved Kevin Huerter. He's been MIA. Keegan Murray didn't get up a shot after the first quarter, and he came out on fire with 10 points. Didn't get up a shot in the final three quarters, and the Kings go 2 of 22 after starting 8 of 12 from the three-point line in that first quarter. Andrew Wiggins, Anthony, we had no idea what to expect from him after missing 2 months of the season, the last 25 games. I think he's exceeded expectations. I mean, he's picked up right where he left off last postseason, Slates.
Yeah, right away. 38 minutes a night, too. The condition is, we talk about Steph's condition and the way he can kind of, especially at his age, which is different than Wiggins, but the way he can just kind of run up and down, doesn't look tired like that. Is Andrew Wiggins. You see, obviously, Minnesota would consider him a failed number 1 overall pick.
No doubt.
But even within his, minimized role with the Warriors where he's, third or fourth offensive option, he's obviously kind of fourth, fifth most famous player on the team, whatever, you still see the flashes of oh yeah, that guy was the number 1 overall pick.
Right.
Oh yeah, he had that individual talent. You saw it on the his biggest shot of the game. Everyone had a biggest shot of the game last night. His was obviously to go up 5 with under a minute left, but just to get into that bag and get to kind of that 15-foot pullback and hit that. And then what does he have? 11 blocks. I mean, he leads the series in blocks.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's 4th in minutes if you consider both teams. It's think about the conversations we were having a month ago about him. And for him to have this series, it is pretty impressive.
No, it definitely is, man. I mean, Andrew Wiggins is balling. And you saw glimpses of him being a really good player when Jimmy Butler was in Minnesota. He had his best season when Jimmy Buckets was up there. And, of course, we know what happened with that.
Jimmy really likes him. I learned that in that first year he was with the Warriors. And you go around, you ask various people. And Jimmy shoots it straight. And I know Andre Iguodala, that was his big thing. Because Andre played with Jimmy in Miami. He was like, Jimmy loves Andrew Wiggins, and that's all I need to know. Because, again, they know Jimmy doesn't fake it. So I always thought that was interesting.
Wow. Just real quick before we let you go around the NBA, Milwaukee losing as a 1 seed, that's shocking to me. That unbelievable. What's your thoughts about that? Knicks Heat, a throwback series to the late 90s, early 2000s. That's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully the Celtics close out so you get Philly and the Grizzlies. Take us just around the NBA real quick before we let you go, Slater.
Yeah, that Bucks loss was a topic of conversation in the Warriors locker room last night. A lot of players, you come back to the locker room after playing that type of game, especially, you got a lot of Milwaukee guys in that locker room. It's like, Bucks lost? What? How'd that happen? There was some talk about that Grayson Allen just dribbling out the clock. How about that?
Yeah, that's wild.
But, yeah, that's up there with, worst individual playoff series losses I think I've ever seen. As far as Knicks Heat go, fun series. What's Julius Randle's status? I'm kind of curious about. He sprained his ankle again last night. Who do you favor? I had one of the Warriors players picking the Heat in that series last night.
I can see that. The Garden's going to be rocking. The Knicks get home court advantage, but I can't bet against Eric Spoelstra and Jimmy Butler. They're in the playoffs. They're a different breed, man. They match up for you. They game plan for you. They're physical. They're nasty. I think they match up well with the Knicks. I think it's a long series. If it was Tyler Hero involved, if Tyler Hero was involved, I'd pick the Heat in like 5 or 6. I still favor the Heat, though, with all that said. Just like Anthony, what about you?
What I like about it?
What's that?
You know what I like about it? You mentioned the old school nature, and you're mostly just talking about that rivalry, the Jeff Van Gundy, Alonzo Mourning, Pat
Riley. Yep.
But it's gonna be played like that too. Like these are gonna be some like 95, 89 games, right?
Yep.
Especially no Tyler Hero. I think both teams know they have to lean into defense. I think it's gonna be like bully ball type stuff. So it might be ugly. You know, there might be a quarter that's ugly to watch. It's 18-17 after the first or something like that. I think it's going the distance. I could see a Game 7 in MSG, which it should be an awesome series, but it is kind of wild. One of those two teams is going to be in the East Finals.
That is crazy, man. That is crazy. Anthony, go get some rest, man.
Thanks,
Go
Ant.
kiss that baby for us and the wifey. Good stuff. We'll see you Friday at Chase Center.
All right, fellas.
All right, Anthony Slater here on the Morning Roast on 95.7 The Game. Don't forget, 5 p.m. start Friday. 5 p.m. start Friday. Get there early. Get off of work. Do whatever the hell you got to do.